Shawn Carney is the founder and president of 40 Days for Life, probably the largest pro-life movement in the world now. It is has been in over 900 cities in 33 countries. Started it in College Town, Texas, just he and his friends. They never thought they would leave their city. It's an amazing story. Shawn's one of the most sought-after pro-life speakers in the world, so we're very honored to have him come to Napa for this event amidst the 40 Days for Life campaign, where everyone wants him to come and speak. But he honored us to squeeze us into his schedule. Shawn Carney's been on hundreds of media, USA Today, Fox News, The Drudge Show, National Catholic Register, EWTN, the list goes on. If you saw, how many people here have seen the movie Unplanned? Could you raise your hand? Okay, a lot of people. Okay, well then you, Bishop Basha said, one of the main characters in there is Shawn, and I told my wife, I said, Shawn actually looks and acts better than the guy that played him. So we're really honored to have Shawn Carney here. Please welcome Shawn Carney.
Well, thank you, Tony. It's good to be back. My first trip to Napa ever was in 2009, and growing up as a kid in Texas, the Napa Valley didn't really mean anything to me. I didn't really like wine a whole lot. I like it now. Thank you for the tasting earlier. But coming up here in 2009, I had the joy of meeting Ron Maxson, and I wish he were here, and all of us wish he were here in person, but I met him, Colonel Maxson, and then Howard, the other colonel, and I realized Napa Valley, we have these two colonels in the wine country leading this God-filled, military operation to save children from abortion. And Tony was their communication guy, and I'm glad that the bishop brought that up. I get a lot of emails from Tony as well. I don't know if I'm saying that as a positive or negative statement because I read them all, so he gets a lot from me too. But what a joy to come back, and as I was listening to all these comments, this is a great day for the Napa Valley. This is a day that y'all will look back on and be able to own and say, we took a real step at ending abortion for good in the Napa Valley. Yeah. And this is that huge step. When 40 Days for Life was founded, we had no intention that it would go anywhere. We did one campaign in 2004. It was 24 hours of prayer, fasting, and a 40-day vigil outside of our abortion facility in a city of about 60,000 college students alone. So a huge abortion market, as 1 in 4 women will have an abortion during college. But we incorporated 40 Days for Life because we didn't intend to raise money. We didn't get our 501c3 until 2011. But we didn't think 40 Days for Life would go anywhere. We incorporated it for legal reasons. And I remember the meeting, the original board meeting. Our founding board chair was a wonderful man, a devout Catholic named Jim Olson. And Jim was chief of stations for Moscow, in the CIA during the entire Cold War. And he ran counterintelligence for the CIA. Has wonderful books, if you ever look him up. And he's a very moral man, had to go to Mass underground, living in the Soviet Union. And I remember when we had the paperwork ready and we filed it and we had our first board meeting as an organization, Jim looked down and he said these simple words that I've never given in a speech, but it's perfect for right now. He said, this is a great day for women, and it's a great day for the unborn. And then he paused and he said, Planned Parenthood has no idea what a bad day they just had. And the reason it's a bad day for them is because you have increased access to choices, you've increased access to love, and you have increased access to joy. And there is no joy inside of an abortion facility. St. Thomas Aquinas says the chief fruit of charity is joy. And it's joyful at the Napa Vigil. It's joyful in here. Ron Maxon is a joyful guy. That's why his efforts have been multiplied so much. And you are giving access to joy at a place that simply has none. When you go out there and you participate in your Napa campaign, and this goes for every 40 Days for Life campaign, as Tony mentioned, it's now gone to 950 cities in 66 different countries. And no one wants to be there but us. No one grows up wanting an abortion. No guy grows up wanting to drive his girlfriend or his wife into an abortion facility. No doctor has a dream in medical school to be the best abortion doctor Earth has ever seen. Unlike other fields of medicine that are legitimate, oncologists and cardiologists, they all want to be the best. But something always goes wrong in the path of the abortion doctor, and he ends up becoming an abortionist. And it's the same for those who work in that industry. So through natural law, and certainly eternal law, there's already tension inside of Planned Parenthood. They don't want to be there. This wasn't the plan, even for the clients. And in the midst of that, you're there, outside, offering this loving help. And there is nothing like having an option to send women to. I was so glad to hear that you were going to be here from Heartbeat International, because when 40 Days for Life started, it's prayer and it's activism, and we go out there, and it took years of us trying to convince people basically that we weren't crazy and we were going to be law-abiding, that we really did sign a statement of peace, that yes, we were going to act in a Christ-like manner, and those weren't just words but deeds. And it took a while to get that reputation, but one of the first believers in that was Heartbeat International. And one of the reasons for that was because we held 40 Days for Life vigils outside of abortion facilities near where they had a pregnancy center. And they are the largest network of pregnancy resource centers in the world. You could not find a better organization to help you to do what you're doing in Napa than Heartbeat International. And that's the combo that closes abortion facilities. You know, we have seen, with 40 Days for Life, we've seen 107 abortion facilities close. And it has become comical with our team, because we'll have an abortion facility close and the leader will call us, and they've been leading maybe 5 years or 10 years, and they're just ecstatic, and they're telling us the details. They're closing, they're not relocating, they're not, they're gone forever. And the leader will always kind of come to and say, I just never thought ours would close. and we're sitting here going, we always talk about hope and trusting God and all those good things, and it's like, yeah, but it's always for somebody else. It's never going to be my abortion facilities. But they do close. And I was in that camp. I prayed that ours would close in College Station, Texas. The reason that 40 Days for Life started is because we saw that it wasn't closing. Their business was booming, and we were losing volunteers. And it was hot outside, and nobody wanted to come out. It was awful. And so we spent an hour in prayer, and that was the birth of 40 Days for Life. But in 2013, that abortion facility did close. And I'll never forget. Those of you that saw the movie Unplanned, which appeared to be most people, the movie's accurate. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and Unplanned is accurate. And there is a small thing that's not accurate. I don't know why they switched this either, but they did. In the movie, when that Planned Parenthood that Abby Johnson managed closed, in the movie, I call her, and I let her know. Well, it was the opposite. She called me, and she told me in a very excited, voice that that Planned Parenthood was closing. They were finally closing. and the Huffington Post had reported it. And it's strange, but I don't always trust everything the media says. So I said, well, calm down. We don't want to get too excited. She's like, we got to plan a rally. We got to do all that. And I'm sort of talking her off the ledge. Like, they're not closed. They're still going to be open. It's like we've reversed these roles. And I did something I'd never done. I just called Planned Parenthood and I introduced myself and said, are you closing? And they said, yes. And they hung up on me. Very short, productive, positive conversation. And I remember calling Abby back and we were just sharing all these memories. I knew her for 8 years on the other side of the fence. And at that point then had known her for 5 on our side, 4 on our side of the fence. So I'd still known her longer when she was working at Planned Parenthood. And we got off the phone and I remember sitting down thinking, you know, I prayed that this place would close. And when it did, it was the former director who called me, and she had my cell phone because I gave it to her. She wanted my cell phone, and we were friends. And she's the one that told me. And no matter how excited I was, and I was excited, I simply couldn't match Abby's enthusiasm. And that is a story that makes us as Christians in America believe that abortion will end. Because it's not a cliche to say that this is about hearts and minds. It is a fundamental reality that anybody can change their mind on this, and when we put that into action, that any place, no matter how big, which Planned Parenthood is, and no matter how bad, which Planned Parenthood is, they are, that nothing can overcome the ultimate victory that Christ gave on the cross. And that we have to trust that. Particularly, I heard Jerry say David and Goliath, and it's the perfect analogy. It's the perfect analogy, obviously, in any place in California, which is the largest state for 40 Days for Life, but especially here. You do have your work cut out for you. But thank God, I mean, they just messed with the wrong Catholic Army colonel and Ron. And, you know, he has created this. And he's brought in all these other wonderful pastors and Christians and people who can help and do what he himself couldn't do. And that's how we got here. And that's how you change hearts and minds. And that does trickle up to Washington, D.C. But this is a trend that you are joining in Napa Valley. I mean, over the last 30 years, half of all abortion facilities in America have closed. And in the last 10 years, with a president who was pro-abortion and a president that was pro-life, 36% of all Planned Parenthood locations have closed in the last decade. Think about that. Think about that. 36% of their locations have closed just in the last decade. That is not going to be reported in the media, but that is the grassroots going to work. That's the pregnancy resource centers being built, which now they outnumber abortion providers 5 to 1 across America. That is things like 40 Days for Life, creating an opportunity for women to turn around at the very last moment and have somewhere to go. And it was a great joy for us. In 2009, the house next door to our Planned Parenthood, where Abby worked, went up for sale. And it was a very similar situation that you had. And I made 5 phone calls, and I got all the money that we needed, cash, to buy the house. It was amazing. People would never give us money before we needed a building, but now we needed a building. So we were able to purchase that building in cash and move in next door. And when we announced it before we remodeled, we had a huge, celebration, and we unveiled that we were moving in there. And the first response from Planned Parenthood, which I didn't know until Abby left a few months later and told me, was that they they tried to downplay it. They tried to blow it off. Internally, they were raging and they were having fights and how could this happen and why in the world didn't we buy that building and blah, blah, blah. But publicly, they were saying, well, this doesn't impact us. These are activists and, they're not going to offer services. And Abby said, she was in a meeting and she says, I bet you they do offer services. I bet you they offer free pregnancy testing, and I bet you they, over time, do ultrasounds and over time try to do other things. And they said, you're ridiculous. These people are incompetent and they're not dedicated and all of the things that would sound great for an underdog. And, 3 months later, we revealed our sign that said free pregnancy tests, and we did offer services and over time offer ultrasounds, and it wasn't 3 years later that place closed. And on paper, they shouldn't have closed. It's easy, and I would think the same thing. You're in Texas. Texas A&M is literally considered the most conservative public university in the country. And so it's, George Bush Senior's library is there. It's the #1 recruiting ground for the FBI. It's the #1 recruiting ground for the CIA. It's a huge ROTC program. It's seen as very conservative, and it's like pro-life world, so abortion facilities close. But that doesn't impact abortion. Nobody's thinking about Republicans or Democrats when they walk into an abortion facility. They need an out. And there were 60,000 college students there, and they weren't able to survive, and they closed. And to this day, College Station, Texas is the largest college town in America that does not have an abortion provider. And I say all that to share with you the great impact that this has. That it really is about hearts and minds, and you need to trust that. You need to trust that. You already have a great 40 Days for Life campaign, but this is the ultimate step of course we care about unborn children, but we are consistent and we care about born children, and you are going to have a wonderful, beautiful resource right next door. And so I know we're going to share what this looks like, and so I want to ask you guys to come up, because this is something that y'all will be able to be proud of. And where is Michael? Michael, stand up. He built you when we had our facility next door, we didn't have a contractor. We knew doctors and lawyers and accountants and everybody that wanted to help, but we knew no one who actually owned a chainsaw or a hammer or a nail. And what we needed was to remodel that house. We bought it sight unseen. And I was here today. Michael has done a fantastic job using his many gifts and talents from God to remodel this wonderful location directly next door to Planned Parenthood. So here is the Napa Women's Center. They are going to be right next door, and they snuck me in the back. It was very shady looking. They're like, there's some people that don't know. And so I snuck in the back. I was able to see it. I know y'all will be able to see it very shortly. It's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And like all of these stories, people just stepped up out of the woodwork. Michael was telling me a story earlier about the air conditioner being so expensive and how somebody stepped up and they were able to get it at a significantly less cost. So many people came forward. When you step out in faith, and we need that, our nation needs things like this. There's so much division, there's so much unrest, there's so much noise, and this is solitude and silence and love at a place that thrives on noise. Abortion survives on fear and on noise. And this is a sanctuary next door to a place that is built on despair. And so what a great witness, not just to Napa and where this is, but to our whole country as we see so much division. We all need good news, and this is great news. This is great news that is at the most important level in the United States of America, the local level. And it was such an honor to get to come here and to be invited here. And it is the feast of St. Therese, the Little Flower. I grew up in a place that is 2% Catholic, and so I always had to explain everything. But for our brothers and sisters who aren't Catholic, the Little Flower is known for doing little things for Christ. Cleaning the floor, doing all the things that have to get done just to get the job done. Not glamorous, but out of love for Jesus. And that is exactly how this came about, is doing the little things behind the scenes out of love of Jesus Christ, who loves these children and loves these women more than we ever can. And so it was such an honor for me to come here and to be part of it. And I want to encourage you. There's no question that the hard part is over, I think, which is getting to this point. And the easy part is for all of us, which is to give money. They need money. All your gifts will be tax deductible. They have taken so many steps the last few months to make it easy to give money. And tonight, in a moment, we'll be able to give a one-time gift and a monthly gift. And I encourage you to do both. We won't lock the doors because nobody wants to go outside anyways, because the whole state's burning to the ground. And so we won't lock the doors. There's no pressure. But I want you to consider a strong pledge, a generous pledge, a sacrificial pledge, both in a one-time gift or a monthly gift. And you know what you can give. There's no pressure. If you can give $20,000, then give it. If you can give $10,000 or $5,000, give it. If you can give $100, give it. If you can give $20, give it. But stretch yourselves, because this is exciting. This is not revamping something. This is creating something completely new that is needed and that is going directly to the front lines with people who know what they're doing, like Joanne, leading this. And that's the important thing, is that Tony and Howard did so much work, and Jerry and the wonderful board, they did so much work to get us to this point, to make this part easier. Sometimes it's like a startup and there's no plan, no one knows what's going on. And I've been part of those things too, and they're kind of fun, but they're stressful. That's not what this is. This is ready to go. When they say they're going to open in a month, they mean it. And that's exciting. And so I encourage you to give a generous one-time gift in a moment. And I encourage everyone to become a monthly donor. There is something, and I've had the privilege of leading a local pro-life organization and now a national one. And there is something about the original monthly donors that start out at $5, $10, or $25 a month. And they'll tell you 10 years later, I was one of the original monthly donors when everybody else was running from the fire. And it's very exciting. It's very exciting. And the monthly donations lays the foundation. It lays the foundation, because once you pledge, and they can start this month, they can start in November. Once you pledge your monthly gift, it helps them start to project what they need in the next year and how much time they'll have to put on fundraising. And we want them to put as little time as possible on fundraising. And so I encourage everyone to become a monthly donor, and at whatever level you can start, but also make a one-time gift to kick this off. And it is money you will not regret giving. So at this time, I want to ask everybody to get out these green cards that were in your chairs. These are the pledge cards. And in these, you see the options that I just talked about. And there's a couple of ways you can give. All your gifts are tax deductible. If you are writing a check, you will write the check to Napa Valley Culture of Life. They are the nonprofit